Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Matthew, and I am joined by Survivor Now analyst Oli. Randy wanted to be here, but he is preoccupied at the moment. Today, we are reviewing episode 7 of Survivor Cambodia Second Chances. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Threads at Survivor Now Podcast. We're also on X at Survivor Now Pod. Did you hear Survivor Now Podcast is now offering YouTube channel memberships? Yeah. If you want to support the channel while also getting exclusive content, you can check out our membership tiers in the graphic below and select the best option that works for you. Of course, if you are unable to join at this time, liking this video and leaving comments is another great way to show support. Okay. This is a very exciting episode. I'm eager to get into it because it's a merge episode.
Yay! Finally.
Finally, but before we get there, we're going to check in with Takeo. It's day 17, and Cass starts off the episode by saying that what the great thing about second chances is the layers of relationships that you have coming into the game, because you don't really know where everyone is. And I think this is really great foreshadowing for what's to come.
Yeah, like it was really nice to kind of see, like, obviously, Cass. I feel like Cass was very what's the word? She was very reminiscent and very, I feel like everything she was saying was how you would sum up what probably like Jeff Probst and the producers were thinking second chances should be. So it was very nice to kind of hear that, that's where she was coming from and everyone. Obviously she had just voted in majority, so she was in that kind of happy state, you like reminiscing state, maybe more than some other people. Savage.
Oh, I'll join you with that.
Mm.
Yeah. No, Savage is not a happy camper. He says that everyone on his tribe are excellent liars. So that's a nice little compliment for them, I guess. But he's feeling betrayed by Cass and by everyone on his tribe. He got blindsided.
Yeah, it's funny that he calls everyone else liars, yet he was lying to Spencer.
I also found it was interesting that he was like, "You could have come to me.
That's
Hey, everyone,
pathetic.
you could have told me what the vote was. I would have been fine with it."
That is the classic Survivor downplay of, you could have told me. You could have told me I would have voted this person. That is the one of the oldest tricks in the book. And like, again, I'm not going to knock Savage, because in that regard, like, probably if I was in that situation, maybe that was something I would play up. But I think now, and especially you kind of see it from kind of around this season onwards, using that card, everyone just goes. So like, you can tell he was annoyed. There was a funny quote that he kind of said, which I feel like alludes to his game like so far, because he was referring to Cass and he was like, she was Bion, now she's just a Takeo. And I'm like,
Ooh.
I know, I was very much sat there like, oh, okay. So basically anyone does something against you, they're no longer in this Bion family. Ooh.
And we'll talk a lot more about the Bion family as we get farther into this episode. They're clearly a very big, major alliance. But let's talk about Spencer real quick. We sort of brought him up before. He's now relying on Cass.
Yeah.
I never thought I would see him in this position.
I don't think Spencer saw himself in this position. I feel like Spencer kind of came in. Again, we kind of see how Spencer came into the game very much wanting to get into a better position than he did, and unfortunately the tables turned on him. And I feel like he probably thought in his brain he was going to come in and be like, Cass isn't going to be a problem for me, Cass is probably going to be out before I even have to deal with her. And it's like, no. So it will be interesting to see, like, now that they have like worked together, and actually, to Cass's credit, she has done him a solid. Will that continue?
We're going to find out this episode. I have to, before we go any further, I like how much focus is on the Kagion cast. I think clearly there's a lot of history there between them as players, and it's
Mm.
sort of see their narrative play out.
Yeah, I feel like when you look at kind of the cast and who would, because right now you have 3 people from Cagayan and 3 people from San Juan del Sur, and you kind of would think like, oh, maybe there's that whole thing, but it seems like there is a lot more history, and that's the word I'm going to use. There's more history there with Cagayan than there is with San Juan del Sur. It seems like those 3 particularly have gone, it's a new, fresh game. Whereas it kind of seems like Cagayan is still like, no, I'm keeping on to this past.
And I think that the strategy of starting fresh and having a clean slate for everyone is going to do wonders for the San Juan del Sur
Mm.
folks because they're treating it as a brand new game. It's not a continuation of what happened last time. Let's go over to Bion. Again, day 17. They receive tree mail that says it's going to it doesn't explicitly say it's a merge, but it does say head towards the end of your beach and await for visitors.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of speculation going on. They're starting to get the hint that this might be a 13-person merge. Do you know, is that the largest merge in Survivor history at the time?
Yeah, yeah. So taking you in US Survivor, yeah, I know that was the first. I believe that was the first time ever a 13-person merge had occurred. So obviously they were all kind of expecting like, right, we're gonna have 2 rounds, but jokes on them. No, we're gonna go for 1 round, and I think that's kind of good. Like I think that is quite an interesting thing to do because again, it keeps players on their toes and what they did expect to happen. It's like, no, psych. So I was excited for it.
Yeah, I really like this. I feel like when you merge at 9 or 10, there usually is a clear majority alliance and a clear minority, and it sort of for the next couple of weeks, it sort of goes along that same pattern. I found that there was a lot of wiggle room that they could do with this.
Yeah, I feel like with both tribes, there was kind of wiggle room and sort of, right, what's actually happening? Because and I know Sierra alluded it on to KO. She was very much like when they both got the tree mails, it was kind of like she was being very socially aware, being like, I know Savage is gonna prefer this, and she kind of knows like this is potentially gonna bite me in the bum. So again, throughout the episode, I could see what she was doing.
This it was not great timing for Sierra and for Cass and anyone else who
No.
blindsided Savage. It made me think, oh, you probably really should have gotten rid of Savage instead of Lou.
Yes.
Well, also, someone who is excited for this is Savage. This is very exciting news for him. It's funny with his character. He was dreading a tribe swap when he went to Angor, and now he is all for. Now that he's on the bottom, he is all for switching things up and potentially calling a new beach home. So he's really excited to get going there. And before they do leave for the beach, Cass, Sierra, Abby, and Spencer all agree to stick together.
Mm. Yeah, which I think was smart for them to do straight away. I'm trying to now remember if Savage made merge in his original season. I can't remember. I need to look back.
Yeah, I'll look it up in the archives.
Yeah, but no, I think that was definitely something that, for Cass's reassurance and Sierra's, I think it was a smart thing to do because it kind of does put that thing of, right, Spencer, like, what are we going to do? Like, was this a one-time thing or have we got each other's back? I've got your back. So
I feel like any numbers that you could possibly secure right before a merge, you have to. Even if you know it's not majority, at least knowing that there is a group of people that you can potentially say they are on my side. I think that's really important.
it's ensuring, like, going into a merge, you have an idea of where the numbers are or can go. You want to ensure that you kind of know where people sit because it will be the ones that you're unsure of, or because I don't even want to say swing. I want to say the ones the ones that you're unsure of are going to be the scary ones because you don't actually know where they are. Whereas someone could just be good with both sides, like we see later on. And that's where the swing vote comes into play.
Absolutely. But we do find out it is officially a merge. We do get a merge feast, something that we are seeing less of these days. So it was kind of nice to see it in this past season. So it's all starting off as fun and games and reacquainting. Joe does say that he is very nervous seeing how many people there are now to navigate. And he says it's like being back at day one again, which is kind of true for something like
Yeah.
this. You all of a sudden the lines are blurred.
Oh yeah. Well, obviously, merge is such a a reset in the game in the sense of it's a completely different phase to what they've been kind of doing. It's like there's always been this set of people, but they've always had that thing of there's another tribe dynamic going on. Now it is just one tribe, and all the dynamics are merging in together. Um, so it's just seeing kind of how that's all going to go. That was my best dad joke.
I
But
know. I
it
feel
was
like I should remove you from the stream because of that.
but to be fair, the one good thing though about merge is we see some people that have finally kind of had not the redemption, but they've definitely shown that they have now done better than their previous seasons. With I remember specifically Wentworth and
Yeah.
Kimmy, first time they've made merge, so well done to them.
Absolutely. And Kelly's particularly excited that she has made merge. I feel like that goes back to when she played the game Blood vs. Water. She had someone else that she had to sort of play for while she was there. This is a wonderful. This game is completely hers right
Mm.
now, and it's great to see. And then she also starts with the strategy talk. So she asks Takeo, what happened? How did it become Woo? And Kimmy is also really surprised to hear that Cass did not vote for Spencer. So clearly, the Woo vote was shocking to people.
Mm. Well, I mean, first of all, you had Cass just spilling everything and being very open. She was like, "Yeah, this is what happened. Savage and Wiggles were on the outs of it, but they didn't allude like right away to why Wu had gone. They kind of just were like, yeah, this was the vote. Like it was us four that voted this way, they voted that way. But yeah, it was then quite funny. You could see people just slowly sitting there listening, taking it all in. Stephen, who then was just like gonna then analyze and become the game bot that he wants to be.
Yeah, he's like, oh, everything's so great, but he is itching to start the strategy talk again. He cannot wait to figure out where everyone lands, and he's so eager to get to it. So sorry, I just got to the point in my notes where it talks about his poem. That's a little bit later, but I'm really excited to talk about the poem. So we do hear some more things going on at the merge feast itself. Spencer also throws out that Chaos Cass was sort of his savior in the last vote. So I feel like he's sort of kind of like propping Cass up in a sense. It's a nice strategy for him.
He's no. So when I looked back and remembered this part, he was propping Cass up, but also to kind of put the spotlight on her. Because why specifically say Chaos Cass? Because she wasn't chaotic at that point. It was, oh no, me and Cass talked and we decided to work together. Also, because the thing is, she was being very open and discussing everything, so that there was no, actually no, there was no he said, she said. She was being very open. In my opinion, to everyone's benefit, because then it was like, at the end of the day, she said, yep, Savage and Wiggles thing, so they can't sit there and be like, well, actually, that's true. So I feel like, because I do feel like in a manipulation way, Spencer was kind of there being like, this is my chance to kind of prop her up and be like, look at what she's doing. She's actually playing, like, look at her. And to kind of keep himself under the radar.
Yeah, we see a lot of people sort of get annoyed at Cass, even angry at Cass for playing the game. I'd love to talk about this more, especially as we get into more of the strategy post immunity, because in my opinion, even in Kagion and now, it feels like Cass has gotten an unfair view of playing the game.
Yeah, I think but I feel like it's that thing of, so I know that with the kind of this merge group, and I know we're probably about to talk about it, there is sort of this sense of the people that want to play and the people that want to play like a family, and their alliance is a family. Specifically, I'm sorry if I'm on the hate train, but Savage, because he's the one that brings up in the episode this whole Takeo versus Bion thing, and obviously he brings up all of the allies, and he mentions Wiggles as a true Bion, and I'm like, okay, because she's loyal. I'm like, so you're saying anyone that's not in the Bion side is not loyal? Cool. They may be loyal, just not to you. So it's kind of that thing you see, and it's okay. We've all got this friendship group, and that's what we're going to go on. Whereas Cass is very much like, it's the game. We've got to do what we've got to do. I'm going to see who's best to align myself with and go from there. And I feel like there is an unapologeticness where she's like, we all kind of just need to remember it's a game. So when it comes to the game side, is what it is. And I feel like that's kind of what sometimes is missed on the other side. They kind of are like, oh, well, how can you do this? We've built such a great connection, and it's like, it's $1 million.
Yeah, it's like that moral compass that's
Yeah.
driving the other tribe. Did you notice when I forgot to mention this before, but it has to do with Savage? When he was thinking it was going to be the merge, he said explicitly that he was excited to get back with his Bion brothers. So there is another hierarchy that he's sort of hinting at in his confessionals, at least, which we'll get to. And he and Jeremy reconnect, and they sort of establish that their numbers, like you said, Wiggles is one of them, but they establish that their 7-person alliance is going to be Tasha, Fishback, Kimmy, Wiggles, and Joe. If Savage can confirm with Joe and get him to swing.
I think Keith as well.
Oh, yes, Keith is in there too.
Yeah, so it was very funny that when he was talking to Jeremy, the first person he mentions out of nowhere is the person he wanted to go after before, Fishback. And I was like, oh, is he finally up there now for you? How lovely. And then he goes Tasha, and then Kimmy. And it's very much, I feel like we've seen how kind of transparent Savage is with the viewers in his confessionals, that we kind of know his hierarchy. So yeah, it's
yeah. I don't want to see Savage at the end. I think he's wonderful television, like for reality TV. I think he's a great character. He's sort of the antagonist, I would say, at this point in this season. And that's fantastic. I'm going with what I said before when we talked about the Woo vote. Savage seems like a very easy person to blindside. And I'm sort of getting the impression that is that's going to be his fate. As a reminder to anyone who's watching this along with us and is rewatching the season, this is my first time watching the season. The only thing I'm aware of is the winner and nothing else. So I'm just reading into the edit, trying to piece the story together. And again, Savage just seems like a very easy person to blindside.
I think with Savage, I kind of mentioned it last episode. When you watch the season back, there are periods where he sort of sometimes has the blinders on, and it's making sure he has that person to help him take off the blinders and go, keep an eye out. Because again, I think like last round, the reason it was so easy to blindside Woo is because he just had his blinders on and he couldn't see what the others were talking about. And because he pushed so hard and made his point across, the blinders. So
Yeah,
it'll
he
be
needed
interesting.
Tasha.
So now that he has Tasha now, will those blinders remain?
Let's see. Let's see. I seem to think that he might pull away from Tasha again. I think because he has his buy on bros, like I think that he's going to really encapsulate himself in that group.
Hmm.
So we'll see about that. But then on the flip of this, we get Kelly and Cass, Kelly Wentworth and Cass, who are discussing their numbers, and they want to include Abby, Spencer, Sierra, Keith in this group, and
Yeah.
Joe. Joe, between the two alliances that were listed, Joe was the only one whose name appeared twice.
Yes. So I think it's very clear that Joe is in this swing position. And again, I want to say there's a difference between swing and wild card. And I feel like we have one that's the wild card and one that's the swing. Joe is the swing
Yes.
because both sides kind of want to work with him. And then the other person who is kind of in the middle, but is more of a wild card, is Spencer. Because it's very clear he has the connections with Takeo, with kind of Fishback and Jeremy and Tasha to a degree. But he has also built this connection on the other side with Cass and Sierra. So it's seeing where he actually does feel like he wants to go, which
Yeah, and
makes him more of a wild card.
That's true, because no one really, and also with Cass, no one really knows what is up with that relationship. They know that they have butted heads in the past, but now they're working together. It's a very confusing dynamic where it's like, okay, but are you seriously working together? Like, what's the status of this relationship here?
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's see. Let's talk about Savage trying to reconnect with Joe. This was, and a pretty typical conversation. He tries to reconnect with Joe and see where he's at, but the main goal of this conversation is to get Joe to stay by on strong and stick with the numbers. And Joe's kind of playing into this. I feel like he's like he acknowledges that Savage is playing with his heart and is like very clearly wearing his heart on his sleeve, so he's easy to read his emotions, easy to blindside, and wants to. But Joe's saying he wants to keep his options open because he does sort
Yeah.
of have this connection with Kelly Wentworth in particular from
Yeah.
the tribe swaps.
Yeah. So I think it's that thing of it's very obvious that Savage is a very not emotional player, but like we said, heart on his sleeve. He'll not emotional, but he's a very almost upfront player in the sense of you can always kind of gauge where he's an open book emotionally, if that makes any sense. I feel like for Joe can see that and be like, okay, that could be a good option because it's like I can at least gauge there where I know. Like I can kind of gauge people's emotions and seeing how they feel and get that sense a lot more easier. But no, I agree. Like I feel like we've kind of slowly been seeing throughout the season this sort of unlikely pair of Kelly and Joe that they've been kind of there's always just been something where it's like they've always had a really nice chat and you can kind of see that they've got similar personalities where they can just get along very like socially, and then that has also stemmed game wise. So I think when Joe is wanting to keep his options open, it's because he can see the benefit of still having some members of the other side in case anything goes on here, because I think he knows that he always knows he's going to have this big target because he's Joey Amazing. That is a nickname of his. Because he's Joey Amazing, he knows that there will be people that may start to look at him. So he's kind of seeing like, right, who can I kind of get somewhere? And I think Kelly's one of those people.
I haven't seen his original season, but that just sounds like a very easy nickname to give him. Very obvious.
I can't remember what season, but I know in one of his seasons he's nicknamed Joey Amazing.
Oh, okay, I see. It might not be his original one. Interesting. So let's talk about Kelly Wentworth for a second as well, since we just brought her up. She talks to Spencer, and this gives Spencer the information that he is truly in the middle with Joe. So he is now made aware of all the different alliances in the merge, and I think him and Joe are at the best position for this vote.
Yeah, they've managed to somehow get themselves into this, because again, I don't think so. For Joe, I think he was able to position himself there very well, because he kind of knew, he could kind of sense that he was always going to have kind of the buy on people wanting to stay with him, because he built a good connection with Savage and Jeremy with the alpha males, and then he worked on the other side with getting the girls good. Sorry. So he was always in this good position. Spencer, I feel like, just due to not the roller coaster he's had, but because he's had to fight and fight and fight, he does kind of become this number. So I can see it. And you kind of, obviously, we did see the both talking and trying to decide where they're thing. And I do have an opinion on that one.
Ooh, do tell. Do you want to wait or do you want to say it now?
No, I can. Yeah, no. So I assume we're going to talk about, obviously, them two talking.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously we see them two talking on the beach, and they're very open about it. It's very clear we're both in the like the swing position, and they start like layering up who's where and what's this. And Spencer, out of nowhere, becomes condescending and is like, I'm going to talk to Joe like this. And I'm like, Joe is
They're here. We're going here.
And then he's like, Joe, and I'm like, Joe is a very capable player. I was like, he hasn't just gotten into this position willy-nilly. I was like, no one randomly gets into the middle. You position yourself, like, I will always say this, if you position yourself in the middle, you don't get there by luck. So when I saw Spencer talking and was like, I'm dumbing it down for Joe, I was like, no. I was like, Joe very much got into that position himself because he is a very savvy player. I was like, so there's no need for this condescending confessional thug.
And also, Spencer, if it's that difficult to explain that there are two large alliances and you two are smack in the middle, maybe you're explaining it incorrectly. It shouldn't take that long.
No, it should just be, these people are this side, they're this side, we're here. How are you feeling about people?
Yeah, it didn't need all of that sand art, but we get a lot of sand art this episode, which I was excited to see. I love sand art when they do it. It makes me feel like, oh, we're forming a plan. And the plans usually fail. It's really fun. I'm glad we talked about that, because I also was just like, what are they doing here? And I want to think, maybe during Spencer's confessional, the producer was sort of like guiding him to be like, how did you break it down for Joe? Was Joe confused? Like, I'm hoping it was that, but, who knows?
Who knows?
Well, let's go to day 19. Actually, this sort of bleeds into it, but Cass has been trying to get information from Tasha, and Cass is sort of right in her feelings. She does feel like there is a bro down going on, correct, and that Bion is all still together, also correct. So her inklings are correct, but she starts trying to get this information out of Tasha, and Tasha's like, you betrayed me on our original season. I'm not playing with you. And it is very clear that Tasha and Cass are just on opposite lines.
It sounds like, again, this probably sounds like it's not a full negative to Tasha, but it's very clear she's holding her last season resentment. And it's like, again, second chances, you've got to learn to adapt. And because I think Cass, she was very clear on the dynamics. And when I watched it back, it was like, Cass is like, there was points I was like, Cass, I was like slightly threatening. I was like, we calm that down. But to Cass's like credit, she was kind of being like, this seems like the dynamics, this seems what's going on. You could be a potential threat due to your challenge pro-esque. And it's very true, because Tasha won 3 immunities in her last season, so she is very much capable. And then obviously Tasha just comes up with this very bogus story. And it's like I was watching it and I was like, technically I am nowhere near Cambodia, but I can feel that lie from all the way over in the UK. I was like, you can smell that lie from over here. So I feel like that didn't really do her any favors, because you could actually see the ungenuineness. I think that's the word. It's the word I'm going with.
Ingenuity? No, that's not the right word.
Something, but basically, you could. It was very clear she was not giving Cass the genuineness that you should have at least tried to do with that in that situation.
I'll say I didn't. It wasn't in Cass's tone. I never really got threatening. What I did get more was very matter of fact. But my biggest issue with Cass's gameplay here is that it seemed like she did not know when to let off the gas. You know, she kept
pushing.
I feel, yeah, and I feel like with Cass, she knew what she was trying to prove instantly. And I feel like seeing Tasha's lie very clearly, that should have been enough information for her to say, okay, great talk.
Yeah.
Go on your way.
I think Cass wanted confirmation of, yeah, we're good, let's carry on. And when she didn't get that, she was like, no, I'm going to keep prodding then. And then I think that's where Tasha could feel that. Cass could then feel Tasha's hesitation. So then both of them were kind of going, So I do feel like there could be something brewing there.
Well, something is definitely brewing, because right after our very quick 1 minute ad break, we are going to talk about an argument that happens at camp. So we'll be right back.
My name is Jonah Fielko, and I'm the CEO of Bracketology.tv, fantasy sports for reality television. We offer fantasy games for shows like The Bachelor, Survivor, Big Brother, RuPaul's Drag Race, and counting. You start by creating a community. Within your community, you can create a fantasy league for each show that you want to play fantasy games for. Within the league, you can choose up to 3 of our 4 game types, and our most popular is the Advanced League. Choose a team of contestants, and depending on what they do and say during the episode, that's how your team will gain or lose points each week. We also have elimination-style games like our Confidence Pool. This is where you choose how confident you are that each contestant will survive elimination that week. And we've also got March Madness-style brackets. Come back a couple hours after the episode to check your scores and watch you climb the leaderboard. Bracketology is free to play, so grab your friends, your family, your coworkers, and head to bracketology.tv for more info.
All right, so let's get into this argument that happens at the new camp. So, oh, by the way, the merge tribe is called Orkin?
We'll figure it out next time.
Yeah. We'll see how they pronounce it. So, again, Cass is convinced that the OG Bion tribe has an alliance still. And she's been trying to get Tasha to tell her this information. So they bring it back to camp. And that's basically where this starts. They're basically continuing their conversation in front of everyone now, with Tasha sort of explaining what's going on and how she said she's never said anything to Cass. And Cass is like, hey, Tasha and I just had this conversation where Tasha said that there is no more Bion tribe. What is Cass trying to do? Because I think I know, but I don't think she's using the information in the most useful way.
I mean, my brain just wants to say she's turning back into chaos, Cass, which entertaining as hell. I think she's just trying to see if there's any cracks, because I think she can kind of tell that, like, this group of people that, no, I'm not going to say it like that. This group of people that are a family, clearly it will not be a family for the entire time. So she's kind of like, right, we might as well just try and cause this family disruption now and just be like, so guys, we're saying it's by Armstrong. And she probably also knows that her name is getting thrown around, because I think Cass is very good at social awareness. She's very good at kind of sensing and knowing if something is off. So I think she's probably noticed that straight away and gone, right, okay, let me just kind of try and throw a spanner and see if it knocks anyone out. So that's probably why. That's my gauge on it.
I'm with you. The way that I feel like she misinterpreted this move is that she didn't give specifics, and I also think it didn't help that she said it to everyone out loud all at once.
Yeah.
I feel like if she really wanted to put doubts into people's heads and plant that seed, she should have spoken to people one-on-one, and sort of slide in the Tasha said she's not working with Bion, like sort of slide that in there.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was a missed opportunity. And I liked how Kimmy was just like, hey, you two have a lot of history from your past season. Let's just clean slate this. Let's just erase the board and start over. And they're very clear that that's not going to happen between the two of them. But then Sierra jumps in.
Oh, no, I just want to say, this is where one of them two goes to Kimmy and asks for an all-girls alliance and then gets called a rat. Continue.
Oh, justice for Monica. That's for you, Ollie. But let's talk about Sierra jumping into this conversation and making it even more confusing.
Yeah. Looking back, I was like, well done. Well, at first, like when I was watching it, I was like, well done, Sierra. And then I looked back and I was like, there was no context. Had there been some sort of way that she was able to bring that into the conversation? But it seems from the edit, it looks like obviously she kind of came out of nowhere and was like, this is why we're saying this. I mean, because the thing is, with what she was saying, I don't see the lie, because technically Savage was getting closer to Wu, and when she broke it down, she was like, well, actually, this is why we went for Wu and why we went for Savage, because Savage is saying he's Bion strong, but Wanted was working with Wiggles and Wu, who wasn't a part of Bayon. So it wasn't the fact that what she was saying, technically she had merit, it was the fact that wrong place, wrong time.
Right. She was correct. Savage, Wu getting too close. Also, I'm sure at some point in their conversations at their camp, whether he wanted to or not, the idea that there were larger threats on the other tribe probably came up, probably to protect Savage himself. So it was odd to me. I love that you thought that this was like good on her at first, because at the moment she did it, I was just like, why are you inserting yourself here?
Yeah.
It was also, for me, what made me instantly say, no one's going to buy this, is the fact that she voiced something, was challenged by the people there. So, right, she hinted at Savage said Jeremy is a strong threat. And then when she was challenged by Savage about how that's a lie, I never said that, she instantly backpedaled her own story and said, no, that's not what I said. I didn't say that you said that. I said that you hinted, and it just got very confusing very fast.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where she tried, again, wrong place, wrong time, and I think because people's backs were up anyway with the Cass and Tasha thing, as soon as she came up to it, it was, well, hold on, let's get clarity then. And when she even did a little tiny bit of backpedaling, it was the little bit that Savage needed to be like, and we're going to remove it. And it was like, oh, because now, because of that, I do feel like people aren't going to actually take what Sierra said as credible when there is some truth to it. There's some merit.
You're right. You're right. They're not going to take what she said at face value. That's what was hard to watch because I'm rooting for Cass, Sierra, Wentworth, everyone who's in Abby. Like I'm rooting for them. Also, I forgot to mention this. I want to backpedal a little bit. When Cass and Kelly were having the conversation about who to work with, and they mentioned Abby. Cass said, and I want to quote this so I get it right. Cass said in response to including Abby in their numbers, she said that, oh, that's great because Abby knows she can't win. And I was like, I'd love to ask Abby at some point, at this point in the game, were you still feeling confident? Because I'd love to know, like, did Abby really think she couldn't win? Because I think she has a strong case to this point in the game.
Yeah, right now she has she does have an underdog story in the sense of everyone was counting her out, everyone was calling her too emotional, yet she's still there, and she has been a part of some of the votes, like PG, Woo, Varna. Like, there are people that when you look at that vote, she gets credit for. So yeah, I think it might be that thing of emotionally, she's kind of feeling like, no one's just going to vote for me on, like, I can't think of the word. They're gonna personally, just because she's annoying or something, they're not gonna vote for her. Which I would hope people are not that bad at.
Yeah, especially with a group of returning players. I hope they understand good game is good game.
Yeah.
So let's get to the individual immunity challenge. So again, now you know who I'm
wait,
sort
there
of
was
rooting
one thing
for.
we didn't talk about.
What did we not talk? What did we miss?
The poem.
Oh, the poem. Okay, yeah. So the thank you. I was hoping to erase that from my mind. So everyone is huddled under the camp tent because of a storm, and to entertain everyone, Stephen Fishback decides to recite a poem. It gave me very like, I think he was trying to do like open mic poem at the club type of vibe. It came across more like high school recital of a poem in front of the class type of thing.
I was Abby, Cass, or Kelly in that situation. I would have been behind him being like I would like, it just came out of nowhere, and then obviously, like, when you listen back to what he's saying, you're like, huh? What? And then you've got, it sounds really bad and I don't want to bring anything into it, but you could see the ones that were like, oh my god, this is beautiful, because of the fact there was some spiritual, and that's the word I'm going to use, spiritual essence to the poem, and some biblical references. And you saw the people that were very much like, yes, this is great, this is amazing, and you're like, of course you like this.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I love that. I do like that he shared something personal to him with the group. I think that's wonderful. I wanted him to go all out, get in the rain, perform to the tribe. It just seemed just so like monotone in the tent.
It was already like this, and then Stephen just carried on. It didn't actually go up, it just kind of carried on, and everyone was like, was this meant to pick us up? Or
and you know what? I did look it up after the episode. I wanted to see how long it was, because the episode made it feel, or the way he recited it made it feel like a very long poem. It's pretty short. So I was kind of taken aback by, I guess he just really dragged out the phrases. It was interesting. But yes, he did treat them to a poem. Savage was like, you should do this every day. I think it was Savage who said, oh, let's do one of these a day. I love that, but I want to get some Edgar Allan Poe in there or something. Yeah, so let's change it up. Let's give it some new genre. What would you do to entertain your tribe on camp? Stand-up comedy?
Yeah, I just probably roast people.
I love a roast.
Love a roast.
That's going to win you some friends.
Yeah. But just because I have that personality that I will just kind of quite quick-wittedly say something and people are like, oh, and I'll be like, I'm joking. And then it was just, that's the kind of thing I would bring, I feel like. I would just kind of bring that funny, irreverent sort of quick wit. That's how I'd probably try and entertain people. Or I'd just be like in the corner, because I have these moments where I'm just in the corner in my own little world and I either look stone cold like, or everything, and people just look at me like, Ollie, what's wrong? And I'm just sat there going, sorry, I just zoned out.
Wait, but then in a confessional, someone's like, I don't know what Ollie is doing. It looks like he is looking at every single one of us like we're not going to win and we need to get him out.
And I'd just be sat there like, sorry, it's just my face. There was some truth to your thing, but it was just my face.
Yeah, I still want to win. I don't know.
I'm not going to win, but it's just my face.
Let's go ahead. Let's get into the immunity challenge. That was a fun little detour. You know what? As much as I will say on this season, I'm getting a little bit tired of Fishback. I actually see Fishback in a position the way I feel like he's going to get very close to the end. That's just how I'm sort of perceiving his edit and the fact that he is in a majority alliance. So I feel like he's going to get close, but then cut off. And
yeah.
I want to see how that arc plays out. I want to see if I'm correct about this. All right. So we get to the immunity challenge, and this is a very simple one. Each castaway will stand on a narrow beam while balancing a ball on a platform. At regular intervals, the castaways will transition to a narrower area of the beam, and they will also move their grip farther away from the platform holding the ball. The last person to not fall off or drop their ball wins individual immunity. Each section is going to last 10 minutes. I just accidentally hit something. We've seen this challenge. It debuted in Cagayan. So it was completed by Cass, Tasha, and Spencer. And if we were there, he would have done this too. And the challenge ended with Tasha beating out Spencer and winning immunity. I think this is the most excited I've been to see one of these redemption stories on the show, because that's interesting that it came down to the two of them.
Yeah, so it also brought a new level to the redemption thing of, it's not just Cass and Spencer trying to redeem themselves and actually win this time. It's that thing of, can Tasha now retain her title? Because and especially because it was the only other time it's been played was in Cagayan, she's the only one that's won this. So it's kind of one of those, she's now got that on her shoulders being like, I've done this before. Can I do it again? But it was a fun challenge. I feel like I would have struggled with the balancing on the ball. The beam, I feel like I saw a trick. I saw a little hack that during the challenge, and I was like, that's actually smart, and that's probably what I would have done. But it would have been the ball, balancing the ball. That's where I would have struggled.
Was your hack standing sideways?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the first thing, so we're talking about Joe, for anyone that's not sure. You go back the challenge. Everyone else is stood forward, and then you have Joe and Keith that's standing on the side. Doesn't work out for Keith, but Joe, the first round, he is completely like solid to the side and ball like that. And what that does is it gave him a lot more balance on that first section. And then the further down we saw him rotate himself to kind of almost be facing like the corner, which benefited him a lot more because it took away almost like the gravity element, where everyone else was having downward momentum. So everyone else was still trying to balance, but then having this downward momentum of gravity. He was already combating that by being like, my body's going this way, so it's already hitting the gravity, giving myself that correction. So now all he has to do is kind of focus on the ball, whereas everyone else has to focus on the ball, but also their balance.
The ball, the balance, and the wind.
Yes.
So this works out for Joe. He ends up winning immunity and he beats out Spencer. So Spencer doesn't get his full redemption. He does outlast Tasha, so that's something. But Joe ends up getting the win over Spencer. It's interesting that Spencer made it to the end twice of this challenge, but then couldn't get it.
Probably so annoyed about that as well.
I know.
Also,
yeah,
the necklace
is beautiful. I was just gonna say,
beautiful. I was like, they're going, yes, I'll have that necklace.
Yeah, art department really did very, very well. I love the necklaces, but this one there was something special and royal about this. So that was really gorgeous to see.
Yeah.
And Joe gets to be the first one to wear it. So now we go back to Orkin.
Orkin.
I gotta hear someone say it. It's day 19 still. We're now past the immunity challenge. A lot happens here. So first of all, Savage is like, I really wanted that win. I really wanted to make a statement by winning immunity, so to show that he can hang with the younger folk. And I want to show a comment from one of our viewers that illustrates exactly what I'm thinking when it comes to Savage. And Rob says that it's the arrogance that makes Savage an easy blindside target. I agree, and makes it so easy for viewers to root against him. I love that you said that, Rob. What'd you say?
With the emoji.
Yeah, the emoji's wonderful. I think we need a great personality to root against. And the excellent thing about Savage is that I like that I do enjoy him as a person watching him on TV. It's not anyone that to me I'm like, oh, I can't wait for them to be voted off. Like I enjoy his storyline so much. And I do love that we had that moment with him in the beginning of the season where he talked about meeting his wife and we got to see this beautiful side of Savage. So we do need someone to root against. That's what makes Survivor so interesting and so epic. But yeah, I definitely agree. And once again, we do record these episodes live. So if you are listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify, feel free to join us next time and engage in our conversation. All right. So he wanted to make a point, but now he tries to convince Fishback, Wiggles, and Joe that Sierra needs to go. But they all want Cass out.
So this is the perfect example of he was going to try and have the blinders on. And this kind of is where, again, the blinders kind of come on and it's a disadvantage to him because he was basically being petty over one comment. And if he had pushed too hard, I feel like it could have really bit him in the butt because everyone would have gone, someone easily could have turned around and been like, and to be fair, I think it would have been Jeremy. This is my theory. If Savage pushed too hard for Sierra, Jeremy would have been the one to call him out and been like, you want to get him out, you want to get Sierra out because she called you out specifically. And I feel like that was good on the other people's parts to kind of be like, no, Cass is the more dangerous player. And I think the one time Savage did well is he could tell that everyone wanted Cass. No matter what he was going to say or do, he wasn't going to get his way, so he just had to bide his time. So yeah, he was just being petty.
Very much so. In a way, it sort of reminded me of when Steven had that moment last episode about how he wasn't able to convince his tribe of the move that he wanted to make, which was getting Joe out. And it really bothered him. And I feel like that's sort of happening with Savage, where he doesn't have that control like he thought he did or wants to.
Again, it's that thing of, we've seen it time and time again of during the swaps, he goes into a situation and he already wants to establish his dominance and his control. I think this one, because he knows he's in such a majority position straight away, I think he was able to kind of be like, okay, I will push, like I want my opinion to be heard, but very clear my opinion is not the majority of the opinions. Still keeps me safe, I'll just shut up.
Yeah, and we get a slight twist on this with Joe and Spencer. They both are starting to get the sense that the numbers are headed in a particular direction, and sometimes it's just easier to. Who are you looking at?
I was thinking, my brain was. I was doing that thing and zoning out.
That's so funny.
Comic relief.
Yeah. That was wonderful. That's the example. That's where you said that I'm going to be sitting in the corner just staring blankly at my drive.
And I'm listening.
I know.
My eyes are there.
Sorry to call you out. That's funny. So I don't even know what I was like. But we get the same thing with Joe and Spencer, where they know where the numbers are falling, and now they're just deciding, am I going with the majority or am I not? And I think they're both getting the idea that it's just kind of easier to go with the majority for this initial merge boot.
Yeah, it's Spencer having no issues going against Cass.
Yeah.
Being like, I've got your back, babe. Not this back, but another back. What back that is, I don't know. But yeah, he was very quick to jump ship. But credit to the girls for being very socially aware. Because you could tell the girls straight away when, no, that's going on for too long. What's that going on over there? That's what I was looking at. I was looking at the beach and everyone talking. I think that the four girls were very socially aware. So they were like, right, let's see if they are going to split the boat, let's see who we can bring in for it.
So they do decide. So that's what they're getting at. You're right. So the group on the beach, Jeremy, Spencer, Joe, Tasha, Savage, Kimmy, Fishback, Wiggles, Keith, they all decide that they're going to do a 5-4 split, 5 votes on Cass, 4 votes on Sierra. Back at the camp, Cass, Sierra, Abby, Kelly Wentworth, they are discussing the fact that they are anticipating a 5-4 split in that same way. Cass says that she only needs one person to vote out Tasha with her. That's not a bad idea. I think the way it could have been stronger is if she pitched someone else.
Yeah. The only issue is who would have that. The only person she could have pitched that to potentially was Joe. Because when you look at everyone else, well, Savage ain't one going to do it. Tasha, Jeremy wasn't going to do it. I don't see Kimmy doing it. Wiggles has been Wiggles. She's been wiggling away that season. Who else is left? Keith, maybe. But then I feel like Keith kind of did allude to Cass causing problems, so I don't see that happening.
I also meant instead of saying let's vote out Tasha, saying let's vote out Wiggles or let's vote out Keith, someone who hasn't made as much as an impact, or maybe I don't think Keith would have worked because I know Wentworth has some sort of relationship. I mean, I don't know what happened their season, but like they know each other. But I think Wiggles might have been a possible vote here. Yeah,
Wiggles or even Savage if they wanted to get Spencer, because they could have turned around to Spencer and gone, well, remember he lied to you. Remember he wanted to get you out. So I get that.
Well, Cass tries her best. She tries to talk to Spencer, and Spencer does a really good job here. I think just sort of keeping it vague, but not really committing to one thing or the other.
Giving enough.
Yeah, he's giving just enough to Cass. Let me see if I have any other quotes or anything here, but I mean it's more of the same, or more of the same approach of like we didn't work together the last time, let's work together this time. And I think with Spencer in particular, he says he wants to keep Cass this time, but he's not sure that he has any of the power to really save her at this point. I think he has a point there. And Tasha is a friend to him, so he's sort of struggling with that too. But he's decided to have power.
Yeah, I think he knows that there is power, but it's not a lot, and he knows that obviously Cass has shown that they're willing to work together. But I think Spencer has this dilemma of he knows he can work with Tasha, So is he gonna try and see if they can go back to that, or will he want to try something new and have a second chance?
And we see that Spencer is all about adapting his game. So now we're at Tribal Council. This is Joe and Keith's first Tribal Council this
I know.
season. I would be terrified if this was my first Tribal Council of the season.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, but then Joe doesn't have to worry. She's got immunity. Joe's sitting there still being like, I'm chill.
Yeah, he's like, I'm still basically not even here.
But then I think with that immunity, he wasn't in control of the tribal, but he was able to kind of be a lot more open than other people were alluding to, because during the tribal, obviously, he kind of pointed because he was in front of the girls and went, it's one of these three. Just FYI, just throwing that out there. And I was like, ballsy.
Yeah, that was great, because he sort of answered Jeff's question about, like, we're talking a lot about Cass, Sierra, and Tasha, but shouldn't everyone be nervous? And he's like, no, like this is the first merge boot. And he's like you said, he basically was just like, it's just easier to get rid of one of the three of them. So that's what we're doing. Other notable things that happen. Sierra says being at camp is greater than chaotic, the feeling there, because of the quick gameplay that's going on. We've heard that a bunch of times this season. Cass says she isn't the one playing the chaos game this time, but she feels that other people are pretending to play the calm game when in fact they are playing the chaos game. I like that Tasha shut this down right away. I think this was a good move. I think it further separated Cass from the tribe.
Yes, it did. But it was literally Tasha's reaction. She was not here for any of it. And again, I agree it was a good move on Tasha's part to be like, actually, no. There was the tiniest bit of truth there, but there was that thing of, the issue Cass has is she is known as Chaos Cass. So if you've already shown some chaotic tendencies, it's going to be hard for you to point the finger, because it's very easy to get that narrative on you.
Yeah, I could see why Tasha was upset by this. I could see why it was, it was just annoying, because she's been hearing this all day. Cass has been working this narrative all day. It is clear to Tasha and to everyone else that these seeds have not been planted properly. And it's just, no one's paying attention to this strategy from Cass anymore. So I like that Tasha was just kind of like, can we give this a rest?
Yeah.
Please. And she says, like, they're trying to mix my words, Sierra and Cass, in a way that is advantageous to their game. And, everyone else, you can sort of see everyone else is sort of humored by this as well. We got a lot of cutaways to a lot of the castaways chuckling and making faces to each other about everything that's going on. We get again and again the Tasha told me, Cass. She says, Tasha told me that the Bion Alliance was over. Sierra, like you said, Ollie, points out some of these, hey, there are some things that Cass are saying that are true, which I'm just like, so are you also saying that some of the things Cass is saying is a lie?
Yeah. To be fair, I do feel like Sierra made a very good point of, like, you want to be here to play and all that. And again, it was that thing of, there is merits, but then there's also these other things of, playing big doesn't necessarily mean playing good. Sometimes it's that thing of, I just need to survive. I don't need to make a wave, because if I make a wave, it's going to be bad for my game. So it was that thing of, yes, play to win, but sometimes playing to win means calming it down a bit.
I think Sierra was making a couple of enemies as she was going on this. No one likes to hear you're not playing a winning game. And you're not going to win in the end. I get what Sierra is saying. I understand. there are definitely people who in the lineup of this larger alliance are not going to make it to final 3 if they keep on this trajectory. I get that, and I see why Sierra wants to point this out. But to sit there and accuse the people who are about to put 4 votes on you to go home and say that they're not playing the game, I'm just like, Sierra, it's just not you. It's just not the game that you had hoped that you were playing.
Yeah. It was probably social frustration. I think that's the best way I can describe it. It was social frustration that she could see it wasn't going in her favor. She just had this really good kind of play. And then you get to the merge and it's like, oh, I've kind of gone from top to bottom here. And I think she does have a merit to being socially frustrated when she sees kind of this family just kind of band together and exclude her straight away. Because the thing is, technically they were both buy-on and they didn't technically vote off of, like, it feels like they've kind of been pushed aside to be like they're not buy-on strong, when technically they voted out a KO. They just voted out a KO that was getting extremely close to a buy-on.
That's a good way of looking at it. I mean, this was an interesting tribal council. I like that. I like that there were moments of humor. Fishback gives some really weird responses to his questions. At one point, he's like, "Oh, what typical merge has 3 small women as the presumptive votes?" And I was
I ignored it.
Like, confused by what he was trying to say. And then he also says that there's like an evolution in the way that the entire game is being played. I don't know.
So I think with that, it's more in conjunction with Spencer's big statement, because he kind of mentioned that it's not just having this majority, and then you hear Jeff allude to voting blocks, which I think is the kind of evolution that I think Fishback is regarding, because it kind of seems like with this, especially with this game so far, it has sort of been like, right, what people can we get quickly to form this group? And it hasn't been set people. It's been like was mentioned, like Jeff kind of presumed, blocks. So I think that is something we could kind of start seeing. Not an actual majority. It's where are the blocks and what blocks can form quickly to get a majority.
I mean, that caused me to go through like an existential crisis of just like, wait, what are we defining as an alliance and what are we defining as a voting block? Because like I feel like alliances do that same thing. Like I understand the logic of a voting block, which is at every tribal, you, me, this person, we're all voting together each time. But I'm like, isn't that an alliance?
I think it depends on, because I think voting blocks would mean people that maybe not necessarily are in alliance together. So it could be like these 3 people and these 2 people, like the groups themselves separately are alliance, but not together. It's just we will work, like this is beneficial for us right now. Let's do it. And hey, maybe next time it will work for us again. Maybe it won't.
Got it. Well, Sierra ends us out by saying, let's play, and play we do. We have a 6-4-2-1 vote. 6 votes for Cass, who is voted out this episode. Tasha, Savage, Keith, Kelly Wentworth, important. Steven and Kimmy all voted for Cass. Kelly Wentworth initially was supposed to vote for Tasha. 4 votes for Sierra, Kelly Wigglesworth, Jeremy, Joe, and Spencer. Spencer, another person who was presumed to be voting for Tasha, at least by Cass. 2 votes against Tasha, which were Cass and Abby. And then finally, we get 1 vote for Savage, which was Sierra. We don't have much time to talk about this, but this was confusing to me.
Yes. The Savage vote, I feel like that was just pay, which I was kind of here for. But we kind of mentioned it. Kelly Wentworth, voting with majority, smart. definitely smart on her part,
Yeah.
because she was like, right, if I can at least become the last person of this sinking ship, it just gives me some time.
Yes. It made me so concerned when I saw that there was a vote for Savage. My initial thought was, oh my goodness, Kelly Wentworth and Spencer, their games are ruined, because for some reason I was like, if they had voted for Tasha, it wouldn't have worked. And then to see the votes play out this way, I mean, Sierra is lucky that all I'll say is she's lucky that she didn't ruin the games of other people with
Yeah.
hers. So that's where we are going to leave it. Clearly, there is a lot that needs to play out in these next couple of episodes. So I'm excited to see what comes next. Again, feel free to follow us on Instagram at Survivor Now Podcast. We're also on X, I guess. That's Twitter now, just in case anyone missed that announcement. Thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next time.